Okay. When it gives me the times, I'll start it off. Let's see. I think it doesn't give me a time, it just says recording. Okay. So I think we're all set. So Alex, I'll get us started here. So let's see. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. It is your host, David McCaig Jr., bringing you yet another special edition upload powered by the Game Entertainment and Media and sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza, in particular, Little Caesars Pizza in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now, getting to the special edition co-host joining here for tonight's upload. You know his voice. He is a general sports analyst here with the Game Entertainment and Media and the Game Sports Show. You hear him a lot on our top shelf editions as well as our special edition uploads. The one and only Alex Parr. Parr, how's it going, pal?
Doing well, man. Still nursing the Leafs blues, but here I am. You know, the show goes on.
The show goes on, most certainly. Now, getting to our Little Caesar special edition guest. Now, this individual may not have heard our intros that I give, so as much as maybe Parr can attest to them, I'd like to really
I'll go get a coffee. I'll be back.
These intros are big. Yes, you may notice that I might be reading a little bit of notes because I am not a little dictionary. I did type out these notes for a reason because this individual does have a very impressive resume. So let's get into that special edition guest introduction. May I also suggest you get a Northern Superior beer while you're at it as well. Now, getting to that guest, he was born in Fort McMurray in the province of Alberta. He is a Prince George Cougars and Calgary Hitmen alum. While in the WHL, he was named the CHL First All-Star Team, CHL Goaltender of the Week, numerous times, CHL Goaltender of the Year, was a WHL All-Star, WHL Best Save Percentage, GAA, WHL Player of the Year, and WHL Top Goaltender. The 4 Broncos and Del Wilson Trophy, respectively, for those. He's also Canadian World Junior Goaltender alumni in 2005-2006 season with, of course, winning the gold medal that year and having the best save percentage in the tournament. He also represented Canada in the Spangler Cup. He was drafted 3rd round, 90th overall in 2004 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He played in the East Coast Hockey League, American Hockey League, National Hockey League. He played in Italy, he played in Sweden, played in the KHL, and most recently with the DEL. The Del is currently where this guest plays. With 7 games in the NHL with the Toronto Maple Leafs, combined with other leagues, he has totaled over 560 professional games that he has in between the crease. Now, another fun fact for you, this guest in 2014-2015 had the SHL Save of the Year and was AHL Player of the Week in 2009-2010. Now, why am I starting to lean towards this in the conclusion of the introduction, bringing up the AHL Player of the Week? Well, that announcement was on February 14th, which was Valentine's Day. Don't you love it? Yikes. Brutal pun right off the hop. Well, I can tell you what is not brutal. It is this guest. He's a stud of attendee and very excited to have him on. Justin Pogge. Justin, thanks for coming on the show today, pal.
What an intro. Wow, that was in depth.
Yeah.
Made me feel good about myself there.
Definitely have a good resume there, my friend. And for real, I like getting into these introductions a little extra. I wish I could say I memorized that, but come on, everyone know I'd be bullshitting if I said that.
There's no way you could do that.
Did you go
That's
that
too
far?
long a list. I've been around too long, huh?
Dave, did you go that far to make a Valentine's Day joke?
I had to. I noticed it on the internet where it had in brackets February 14th. I've never seen that. So I was like, gotta love it, right?
Hey, you nailed it.
You know, one thing I do love though is the stash, and I get that, and my fiance tells me to basically hit the curb when I got one of those going on. So you know what, you pull it off real nice. I thought I'd flat out.
My wife would tell me to hit the curb if I didn't have it. So
opposite. There you go.
Yeah, it's been around. It's been around for a while now. So
awesome.
Got to keep it going.
Yeah, most definitely. Now let's get to the icebreaker part of the show before we dive into our topics. And I want to dive into outside of hockey. Like, who is Justin Pogge? What does Pogge enjoy? What does Pogge essentially do besides stopping rubber in the crease or, you know, being Player of the Week on Valentine's Day? Like, let's educate our listeners about who you are outside of the rink. Because you know what, everyone that follows you and also knows about your hockey past has certainly followed you on the ice, but we never get to have that in-depth discussion potentially about what you like to do off the ice. Now, I can talk about what I know about through your social media and just kind of through our conversations, but essentially I think it'd be better that it comes from you to dive into what you enjoy to do the most, essentially.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, it's been a whole lot different pre and post pandemic, and I'm used to getting out there and being outside a lot. Love mountain biking. This year, actually, we got back. We had a shortened off season, only 10 weeks. So we actually bought a camping trailer, my family, and we took off for 6 weeks of that time, and spent it just tripping through the states up to Colorado and doing a little mountain biking and hiking and stuff like that. Those are some of the things I love, and just cooking outside and just being outside and getting my kids used to the camping life.
Yeah, it's definitely the big thing. Now, in here in Sault, Ontario, where the show is based, of course, and we have listeners outside of Sault Ste. Marie, but obviously we're really known for that camp life too. And I don't know, Alex, I know you enjoy kind of being outside in the country. You're out near St. Joe's Island yourself, so I know you got a good waterfront property that you're on. Myself, my parents had a big yard, and my fiance has a camp. In this area, it's big to go to camp, or I know a lot of people like to call it a cottage, a trailer, whatever you like to call it. I don't, like whatever way it's like to be called, but it's certainly a different type of freedom, right? Like if you have your work, if you have your job, you're playing hockey, it's your escape from reality, right? You could turn your phone off. You can turn, unless it's talking to you, Justin, on social media, maybe you can turn your phone off because I'm so important to talk to. No, just kidding. It's so great to be able to escape, right? And also with yourself being with family, those are priceless moments that you make outside of the rink. Now, here's the thing, Alex.
Last year was such a shit show. Being over in Europe, we got there early, and then the season being delayed and then shortened, and it's just the stresses of it all. And once we hit the road, it was so nice just to have our own schedule and pick where we wanted to be and when we wanted to leave. And it's a little bit more cushy than the way I grew up camping. I grew up in a tent, so I don't know if my son and daughter will ever know that, but it was a blast. Bought a truck to do it, so it was fun. It was my first time towing a big trailer, and I loved it. I'm built for the road, I think. I've been enough places. I lived out of a suitcase, so I'm used to traveling light.
But you got to experience so much when you travel. I know we're going to dive into a lot. I know Alex, when he goes into the first official topic, we're going to dive into where you spent a good bulk of your career. And, I have friends that have played overseas, and they've even said, and some of them have played in the National Hockey League, saying that they've actually enjoyed the overseas a lot more because it's so much different. The scenery, the country, learning, adapting to a new society and culture. It's some friends that are big in the Italian league, like Matt D'Agostini, for example. He's a Sioux guy who is in the Sioux. We're basically like Little Italy, we like to call ourselves. Everyone has Italian. So, you have someone who is able to go see their family that they haven't met, their relatives, and just be a part of that culture that was a part of their background, right? And then he's in Switzerland now and transition from that. It's just all the experiences you get to have in Europe is fantastic. And Alex, I'll let you dive into the first topic. I think that's a perfect segue.
Yeah, when you talk to other players that say, you can still make a career for yourself overseas, what kind of things do they mention? What kind of things drew you over there when you knew you still wanted to play?
I think a lot of it was just wanting something different. I'd been in the American League for 6 years, and by the end of it, you're just a roster filling. You're just a number on a sheet of paper, and they don't really give a shit about you. When you're a prospect, but as soon as you get down the line and start aging a little bit, they don't give a shit. So, I mean, I'd had enough of it, and the lockout was coming. So I knew I wanted to play. I didn't want to be stuck playing in the coast the whole year and maybe not even playing and being pushed out. So I spoke to an agent over in Europe, and he set me up with a team in Italy that had a Canadian coach, a bunch of good imports, a bunch of guys that were getting pushed out of the DEL and down to Italy. So we had a fun squad. We lived in a little village in in Ritten, Italy. I think the village name was Klobenstein. We had a little rink, and it was in the Alps, the Italian Alps, and it was different. That was our first experience. My wife and I went over there, first experience in Europe, and it was amazing. You could take a train ride to Venice in an hour and a half, and go to Rome and come back for practice. We have another day off, go back down, meet the family in Rome, and it's just such a different pace that you don't get. And then hockey is, you have your contract, and yeah, it can get hectic at times, but you don't have the GM wondering if you're going to get called up or not. Like you're at where you're at, and you take care of yourself, and you're more of as an import player in Europe, you kind of have to push yourself and thrive, and kind of, I don't know how to really put it. You got to look out for yourself a little bit more. So you're on your own schedule. If you want to do well and you want to put that extra work in, it's gonna show off. You're gonna jump up through leagues and stuff like that. But if you want to have vacation, you could do that for a few years and do that. But I've really enjoyed my time over in Europe, and I've been around a few countries now, and I've loved every different place for its own reasons. And I've really enjoyed my time over there, just being a different pace of life. And coming back to North America, you miss it, and then you miss Europe. So I'm like itching to get back. Cappuccinos are better, and
oh yeah,
beer's a little better.
You said you had a lot of imports on that team. What sort of guys kind of helped you make that transition over to the European game?
We had a lot of veteran guys like TJ Camp, Ryan Ramsey, just a bunch of guys that had spent time. They'd done the American League. They'd spent a few years in Germany, and they were kind of on their last hurrah playing in Italy. So we took what we could from them, but they really showed us how to experience Europe and really kind of submerge yourself in the culture and really take advantage of the time you're there, because it's not forever. So my wife and I have really tried to live like locals when we're there. And it's funny when you talk to people and say, you've been to this place, been to that place, but they've spent maybe a few days in one place, and we've lived 10 months in Italy. So when I talk to people about being in Italy, like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, literally. And you mentioned there was Italy, countries that you've been with: Italy, Sweden, Germany. And you know what? Like, I've heard mixes, right, between different leagues about what fans really stick out to you. And I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot because you're still currently playing, but is there a fan base that surprised you? Like, obviously you come from North America, you got drafted by the quote unquote hockey mecca of the world. We won't even dive into what our feelings with that, Alex, but nonetheless, you have the different countries there where I've had friends play in the IHL for Europe, and the fans are just obnoxious, right? It's like you're at a soccer game. But between Italy, Sweden, Germany, is there a fan base that surprised you the most in terms of fan loyalty?
I mean, there's definitely, every team has their support group or their local fan group, and they're all amazing. But my first experience playing in Berlin was absolutely mind blowing. I didn't know what to expect playing the Mercedes-Benz Arena and playing against the top team Munich at home. My first experience, first game, and coming home with a win and the fireworks show and everyone's yelling at the top of their lungs, drums going. And I've experienced the drums and stuff before, but I mean, that was a whole other animal. And then look at the other end of the spectrum this year. My home rink was the biggest rink in the league, but we had 0 fans. So I mean, it was tough contrast there. But I think Germany, they're hard on their players. They expect a good product and they expect you to do well. And not knocking any of the other leagues that I've been in, but I mean, German fans they're probably the most eccentric.
Not surprised. A fireworks show. I know I saw your eyes light up there, Par, because fireworks shows should be something North American teams bring into, because that's absolutely unbelievable. I don't know if you're going to catch the arena on fire or what's going to happen.
You know what? I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Really?
They used to do it in Chicago. I think they still do it in Chicago. The owner in Chicago for the Chicago Wolves. He likes to spend his money on fireworks, and the fucking smoke is in the arena halfway through the first period. It's the worst thing. And it just smells like sulfur. We played playoffs against them when I was with the Marlies, and we ended up losing to them, but having to go there and just experience that smoke every single time. And I couldn't
that's
stand
the home
that.
ice
They need
advantage.
a better ventilation system for sure.
Health and safety concerns there. Where's the health and safety over there? You got to get some Ontario health and safety laws down there. But, you know, you speak of Europe, and I was attracted from one you mentioned in Berlin. I think that's where you played with James Shepard and Maxim Lapierre, I believe, was there, and the Hawks prospect, Lucas Reichel. That seemed like a pretty deep team, like from that perspective. Everyone remembers Maxim from playing in Montreal. And of course, James Shepard was a top 10 pick in the NHL when he was drafted. And obviously Lucas is a guy who's still coming up the ranks with Chicago, which I would expect would be a full-time NHLer in the very, very near future, if not by next season, especially the way the Chicago Blackhawks are trending in their retool, if you will. So was that maybe the deepest team that you've been a part of, or was there other teams that, you know, maybe because these names weren't there, like there was better all around teams that you've been on?
No, I think that I came in January 1st, and, you know, I clicked with that group right away. And that was the one team I've had in my career that I knew we could win a championship. And, you know, like we had everything. We had skill, grit, solid defense, great coaching. And, you know, I felt like we had everything in our hands, and, you know, we were probably the biggest team in the league. We had PC Labrie as a winger, and, you know, crushing guys, big D man. And yeah, they ended up winning this year. So I kind of a little butthurt about that. But yeah, it was awesome. It was such a good group of guys. I mean, they took me in, and I had a chance to showcase myself and got another 2 years out of it in Cologne. So I'm very grateful for my time there. And just the stupid Corona came in and took out my dreams of winning a championship. But yeah, it was a great group of guys. I mean, Laps was a hell of a leader, and Sheps is just the best DJ in the world, I think.
What's his tune? What's his go-to tune? Is it Barbie Girl?
You know what? It is a constant organic flow of just good jams, and you can make requests. It's not jealous. He'll throw something new in. He's the best DJ I've ever had in my career. Wow. I tell him right to his face.
Wild. Okay. I can imagine some of the people that like to hold the microphone, the DJ system. Like I can just imagine some guys would hog it and play some garbage tunes. So it's good to know there's some contrast there with.
Yeah, there's some light at the end of the tunnel there. There's a lot of junk out there, but
well, you know who the best DJ was? Who was the worst DJ?
Oh, there you go.
I won't throw that out there because
no, good guy. Good guy.
I don't want to hurt feelings, you know. I've thrown my iPhone on there, and I get chirped a lot just because I'm very random with what I listen to. I listen to everything. So when I put it on shuffle, it's not one genre.
You're afraid of what's going to come on next. I really just like putting my phone on shuffle. I'm the same way. I like any kind of tunes. You might hear some Ariana Grande, or you might hear some AC/DC following that. Like it's literally, it's literally a main mix. But here, giving some Ariana Grande some love here on the show. But nonetheless, you this upcoming season, what's the plans for you? Like, how's it working? Do you go like you got to re-sign a contract? Like I didn't dive into that much statistics on your background. I thought I'd give you the floor with this upcoming season.
Well, I got second year of my 2-year deal in Cologne, so looking forward to getting back there. And you know, kind of bouncing back last year was just, like I said before, an absolute shit show. And I'm looking forward to having a better year. And you know, the club, I think the fans there, they deserve a better outcome from what had happened, and being able to see games that this thing kind of settles down. And I really felt for the fans. You know, they love their team there, and they were forced to watch it on streams. And you know, it's just not the same. The atmosphere is not there. And it wasn't the same hockey. It didn't really feel like a regular season.
No, I bet not. Now, Alex, I might be taking your thunder with this point, but the Save of the Year award, I saw it on YouTube, and you were against Michael Telquist, which is funny.
Yeah.
There's some Leaf alumni ties in there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Telly's my buddy too.
Yeah,
So it was good. He was my training camp buddy.
And I watched on YouTube, when I watched the award, I watched the comments, and your name invaded it. Okay, everyone was saying, I didn't understand all the language. Of course, I had to hit the Google Translate, if you will, to understand what everyone was saying. But everyone was saying Pogey, 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 all the way down. I think Telquist only had maybe one vote out of the 30, it seemed like, on that comment. And the save was pretty wicked. And, you know, you can check it out on YouTube. You just type in Justin Pogge Save of the Year, it comes up. So how did it feel to get an award like that? Like, is that an award where you can go to your buddy like Telquist and be like a little flex, if you will? Or
I don't think I could ever flex on Telly, but he's too nice of a human being. But you know, it meant a lot to me. And I was in the running the next year too, not to pump my own tires. No, it was amazing. I think I won because I had 5 saves and he only had 1. It was a 5-save sequence, so, and I ended with a pad stack. So I mean, the style points are just out there,
off the charts style points.
It was against a rival. It was like a highway series against Orbro, and I think I might have got a shutout that game. So this is pretty big deal.
You get some good, and we're going to talk about you getting shutouts, because I know you have a gold medal game where you have a shutouts. You're almost like Andrei Vasilevsky with these shutouts in some clinching games. But before we even get into that pad stack you were doing, I said Dominic Hasek was the first thing that came to mind when I saw you doing those pad stacks. Unorthodox. I loved it. It was entertaining.
Yes, I was. I think people in Sweden liked me because I wasn't just the standard Swedish goalie. I was the only North American goalie for the longest time in that league, and I do pretty standard, but when it comes to having to make something work, I'll do it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that one, the puck just kept getting farther and farther away from me. I kept shooting it back out to someone's stick, and I just had to roll around. But it stayed out, and we cleared it and won the game, so it was good.
Awesome. Alex, I thought I'd give you maybe the last one if you want to touch on the nightlife in Europe, maybe. And I'm not talking about stories of the nightlife, just how different North America might be, but I'll give you the floor with that because I've already stole some of your thunder.
Does the language barrier ever get you in trouble, wherever it may be? Because there's so many places that had so many different languages. Did you ever run into a situation that you're like, oh, I didn't want to end up here?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes Europeans don't get sarcasm.
Oh,
they take things literally, and then hockey players, that's pretty much our preferred language.
Yep.
So that'll get you in some dicey situations with some bouncers and stuff like that. But usually you have one of the other guys come smooth things over.
Right.
See, I feel like Germany would have a better night out life than any other of the countries you've been in. I've partying, I heard, in Germany. Like, I know you've had time in the KHL, if I saw correctly, there as well. And the stories heard about Russia mostly alludes to money not being paid. So we won't have to dive into that. But the nightlife in Germany just seems like, I've had some friends go there. It seems it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get out too much because I had my son and we had just got there. But we tried going out one night in Germany, in Berlin, and Berlin's probably the craziest place you could go out in the world. I think you could do just about anything there, and you'd be walking at 9 a.m. around a park, and there's some bunker bar and some guys stumbling out. All you hear is that he doesn't even know what day it is. But the guys told me stories about the clubs they used to go to, and I mean, I was kind of curious, but also a little nervous. I'm like, I don't think I even need to step foot in there. I one night where we almost got in, I was with a couple of the German guys and a couple of the imports, and we got past the first bouncer. It was like a vibe kind of club, and he is just before the pandemic was coming, so we were kind of nervous about it. We went out, and my buddy PC goes to take some hand sanitizer that's behind the bouncer thing, just to do the old pump thing. He thought it was public, and the second bouncer didn't like that, so we didn't even make it into the club just because of that.
Why didn't he like?
He didn't like our vibe.
Oh.
Feeling alcohol already before he's even in the door.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my experience into a weird club that I didn't even get into.
Oh, Berlin. I would love to go the trek up there. I can just imagine the night out life out there.
Yeah, I think the safest bet though is a Irish pub, because there's Irish pubs everywhere and they all serve Guinness. So I don't have to venture too much further than that.
No. Now, speaking of international a little bit, we'll jump in a little bit to now international play. Now, this is where we'll get into a good deal of some of your memories where, North American sides, there's a lot of history here with yourself with, we've had guests say that Stanley Cup winners on the show even say, that representing your country, there's nothing better than that. No matter the stage, it's the most rewarding feeling, no matter what level, if it's World Juniors, under 18s, the Olympics, the Spangler, whatever it may be. Sometimes that's better than winning the Stanley Cup. Now, that might be a cliche statement. Maybe when you compare the Stanley Cup to an Olympic gold or the Stanley Cup to a World Junior, I think those might be all on the same kind of level. And of course, you won a gold medal at the World Juniors, and you played in 2006, and it was you and Dubnyk in between the pipe for them. Great squad overall too. It had, of course, Dave Bolin, Chris Letang, of course, Johnny Taves, and you beat Russia 5-0, if I remember correctly. And that's where I was talking about the shutout, where I was kind of comparing you to Andrei Vasilevsky with getting shutouts in series clinching games. Can you talk about that experience with the World Juniors? I know there's a lot that we can kind of dive into here, but that must be just something that you will obviously never forget.
Yeah, that definitely has been the highlight of my career. Playing in Vancouver was so special to me. I had set my goals at the beginning of the season to give myself a chance to be on that team, because it was in Canada, and that's where you want to play World Juniors, is in your home country. So I told myself before every game that you want to make World Juniors again. Let's go. And sure enough, by Christmas time I was there, and that the experience getting to the finals and just going through the round robin, I was nervous as hell. I was drinking Pepto-Bismol before every game and Pedialyte after, and they had to cut my pads down to make them legal, and I actually liked them a little bit better because they were smaller. But it was an amazing time, and being in the hotel with the guys, and I can't imagine what the group went through this year with being separated from the boys, only seeing it at the rink, and just being locked in a hotel room. I mean, we snuck out and went for sushi and stuff like that. Like this stuff you do as dumb kids, and I felt for them, and but my experience was life altering, I guess. It was awesome. It was amazing. Winning, it just happened so fast though. You're out the next day. You're flying out the next day. You don't really let it get a sink in. But it was something else. That Molson Canadian that I had at the end of the night in the shower was pretty nice. It was worth it.
Now, Alex, I know you're a big avid follower of the World Juniors, and I think you've said on numerous shows already this year that might be the only hockey you watch this year. Again, nothing we're going to dive into there with that for reasons, but you have...
That's for my therapist to deal with.
He played with great players there. Obviously, Craig Hartsburg was a part of the coaching staff there, of course, and he's a casual analyst on our show, much maybe people may forget that Hartsy is on our roster with the Game Sports Show. That's my little flex for the day. But Alex, there's obviously a lot that we could dive into, and I'll transition to you here with a topic you want to discuss with the World Juniors.
Yeah, I mean, just what's the moment that sticks out the most? And maybe a second part of that question is, you said how good Berlin, probably the loudest arena you played in was for the World Juniors, considering you have everybody there cheering for one country.
Oh yeah, definitely. By far. It was nuts. Like there was a Pogge chant going on, the anthem at the end, just going out for warm-ups was, bone chilling. And, you had to show up. I was literally shaking before every game, but I had Paul Maurice tell me one time in training camp that, the days that you're the most nervous are usually your best days. So, I took that to heart, and, I wasn't scared of it. I more embraced it. And it was such an amazing an amazing feeling, and being able to win and with those guys, it's amazing. I lack of words.
Literally. And Paul Maurice, a Sioux native as well, and friend of the show as well. Another flex. That's 2 straight flexes in a row for me.
Yeah, one of my favorite coaches.
Oh, it's guaranteed.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know what? I can even tell from interviewing with him before, just knowing him in conversations, people see him on the television as a serious, deep talking coach, right? But you get him talking. He likes fishing. He likes having the odd brew like everybody else does. He's somebody who actually has been told by me or by other people that he's a player's coach, that he's actually, he looks out for the best interest of his players. And I know there's been a lot of criticism with him in Winnipeg that, they haven't had a lot of success in Winnipeg. And there's been him and Cheveldayoff as guys that they put on the stick. But really, it's not them, because they have a great coach there. And to hear the words that he said to you there, it's some of those words that stick with you. And that sounds like something Paul would certainly do.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. Loves motorcycles.
Yeah.
I love motorcycles too. And I remember he also told me that doesn't matter. Motorcycles are kind of like guns. Doesn't matter what caliber it is. If you hold it up your head, you're gonna die. So be careful.
Wow, that's a good point too.
So I took that to heart. Yeah, I had him in Toronto, and he was nothing but professional, and helped me out quite a bit. And I think I would have had a lot more time with him. But the GM involved wasn't having it. So,
and I know we're going to dive into definitely talking about Toronto a little bit, but the one thing I wanted to bring up with the World Juniors is there's actually 2 minor points, to one bigger point that was more lead towards now that we can kind of relate to. And I'll go to that first. It's obviously on a bit more of a tragic note. Luc Bourdon was obviously somebody who's no longer with us. He was a teammate of yours, and there's certainly no doubt in the success that he would have had in the National Hockey League, just because of the way defenseman that he was. So, the kind of leads to this point where, of course, that's a situation that's really difficult to talk about. But have you kept touch with guys since on that team? And the second part of the question was, I was going to go towards Jonathan Toews, where the next year he was a shootout king, where he scored back-to-back shootouts. So I know that he didn't do it that year with you, but I'm sure in practice, you guys practice shootouts a good deal. Was he that good in shootouts then? So that's my 2-part question, 2 different avenues. So you go whichever way you want to go with those questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to keep track of everyone, but I've played on teams with Kyle Chipchura quite a bit, and we go back and forth every once in a while. But I've been on several different teams with him, so we've been around each other our whole careers. He's retired now, but I talk to him every once in a while. But other than that, people live their own lives, they separate, and I'm happy the way things worked out for everybody. And on the second part of the question, yeah, Toews could score at will on me. I'm glad we didn't have to go to shootouts. And he'd get me low blocker every time. I'd be so pissed off in practice. I think I broke a couple sticks. That's when I was into breaking sticks.
Yep.
But I mean, he still had a cage on. I think he was 16. So
young. He was a
stud, and you could just tell he was good.
Yeah. And so surprised that, there could have been, if you do a redraft, that he did go at one of the top picks, but he went in the right spot. But Chicago, the fit there for him, he's turned into such a strong scorer, 2-way center. Like the way he was in the World Juniors is the way he turned out to be in the National Hockey League. When you think,
yeah, he's the perfect player, really.
Literally,
he's the guy that you want on your team, because he's not just out there for points. He's there to play both ends of the rink. And we used to call him Captain Serious or Hazy. Why are you so mad? Chip and I, why are you so mad? Why are you so pissed? Look how pissed he is.
You know how good of a leader you are is when Sidney Crosby comes up to you and asks you if it's okay if he has the C over you in the Olympics. I remember when that was a story. I believe it might have been in 2010. It might have been in the 2014 as well. Either way, whatever one it might have been. I know listeners are probably going to correct me in the bottom of the comment section. That's totally fine. But either way, when you got Crosby, arguably still, I know people got McDavid as the best player in the world, but the way Crosby had his effect on the game and he changed Pittsburgh, still the best player in my eyes in the National Hockey League. When you have him coming up to you and saying, "Are you sure I can have the C?" then you know that that's somebody who has strong leadership.
Oh yeah,
and is a good hockey player. But
yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Can't say much enough about him.
Now, we did dive into the World Juniors there a little bit. You won a gold medal, which is certainly wicked. But even within that time, you were drafted. And I'm going to transition to Alex about our famous topic that we get into is the draft story. So, Alex.
Yeah, basically, we ask everybody that comes on. Normally, most people have some weird interview story or how this thing went wrong and this team didn't seem interested but ended up taking them. When you think back to the draft, what story kind of sticks out in your memory?
Toronto media not being able to contact me, or even Toronto being able to contact me the day of the draft.
What happened?
And how not? Doesn't your agent have to take care of all that stuff?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't think I was going to go the first day, so I didn't want to be that guy at the end of the day just bummed and going the second day. So I knew it was going on. It was a long time ago, so we still had dial up at our house. So I thought that TSN was supposed to show the whole first round or the whole first day on TV, but they only showed the first round. And so I was checking my computer intermittently, and then I saw that my buddy Jeff Glass got signed 89th, and I was like, "Oh, sweet! I'm so pumped for him." You know, he gave me advice going into the World Juniors the year before.
Yep.
And or I guess the year after, but yeah, he was such a nice guy to me. I got to know him at the combine and everything, and I was really happy for him. And then my dial-up cuts out. Oh, you're getting a phone call, it says on the screen. Okay, so I better answer it. It's my agent Donnie Meehan saying that you're going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. And I kind of came out of left field. I didn't have any interviews with Toronto, and at the combine I did, but nothing after. I thought I was going to go to Nashville because I went to dinner with the guy twice, scouted Nashville, and had a really good rapport, and would love to be there. I would love, I loved it in Toronto, but I would love to be in Nashville. I mean, they got a good thing going, and I could have come up with Pekka and learned a little bit from him. maybe some of his style would have rubbed off on me. But yeah, and I was actually working at the yacht club. I was being a bar back at a yacht club party. I used to be the dock boy to fill up fuel, but they brought me in. They called me up to the bar to open up beers for people because I was 18. And so I, stopped by the storeroom. Mom was working and told her that I got drafted. And then I was like, well, I'm off to work and go to work. And, I didn't have a cell phone. So no one knew how to contact me or anything. And I just, didn't find out till the next day that everyone was looking for me. Went to work and then actually bought a bottle of champagne underage at the liquor store and went out underage with my buddies. So it was fun. Not condoning underage drinking, but
no,
you're 18.
Yeah, no, everyone has done it. Everyone would do it. I listen to you. Even when you sign and play junior hockey locally in the city, I know there's a lot of times for my friends you get signed, but it's not even the NHL draft. It's different. Everyone has a reason to celebrate, and it's kind of, you got to pop bottles when you have excuses, and that's a good excuse to pop bottles.
Yeah.
Now,
I should say it wasn't champagne. It wasn't from France.
No. Now, you get drafted by Toronto, okay, and this transitions nicely into the next topic we'll get into with the Toronto Maple Leafs, okay? So you start with the Marlies, and let's just flat out say, with your time with the Marlies, Justin, and I'm a straight shooter, and your statistics were fantastic, okay? So I just want to know, what was the expectation from Toronto? Because obviously there was a trade between Boston and Toronto that traded a young prospect goaltender named Tuukka Rask to Boston for Andrew Raycroft, right? Raycroft coming off a strong year in Boston, Calder winner, obviously. And in Toronto at that time, you had, in your time there was goaltending things that we'll bring up, okay? And I think there was one goalie that I'm very envious that you were beside at one point was Curtis Joseph in a particular way. But, going back to the point of the Leafs management, what was the expectation? You get in touch with them that first day after they finally got a hold of you 24 hours after, leading up to when you started playing for the Marlies. What did they tell you had to work on? What was Leaf management like to deal with at that time?
Crickets. Just
really
that there was no expectations, no added pressure. Just I had one meeting 2 years later when Brian Burke was GM saying, you're a good goalie and we're just looking for that X factor. But that's about it. I got told by what was his name? Ron Wilson.
Oh,
He said, if you were a D-man, you'd be staying up, but you're not. So we're going to send you down.
I've heard stories about Ron Wilson from players that have played with him. Okay, some Toronto guys, and you can check out previous editions, listeners, if you want to tune into my previous Toronto guests. But the stories aren't the most positive, and if Ron Wilson listens, I really don't care. I'll flat out say it that it wasn't my favorite Leaf coach when he was there. Arguably my favorite was Paul Maurice because he's from the Sioux, so that was my favorite one at the time. And Pat Quinn, everyone remembers Pat Quinn. So those my times in Toronto that I watched growing up, and myself and Alex, if you haven't realized now, Justin, we are Leaf fans outside of being show hosts, putting our host hat off. We are Leaf fans, so we are suckers for pain. We like to call ourselves. And the time in Toronto for when you were there, and I'm going to flat out say they did not develop you properly. You deserved to be there. And you may not want to hear that because that's in the past. We're moving forward 100%.
It's way in the past, but
yeah, it is.
If today, the way they run teams now, I feel like there's a lot better chance I would have been up for at least more than 7 games, but that Ron Wilson, so I got called up the day before because they traded for Martin Gerber at the end of the year just to take the salary from Ottawa to help him out, which I don't know why you would do that with a rival. And so he'd shot the puck at a friend of mine, the ref, Steve Kazari. And so he'd shot the puck at him and got kicked out. So he got a gross misconduct. So they called me up the next day to Buffalo to back up Cujo. Cujo's not playing well, gets pulled. I think after the first, I go in, play well. It's probably my 3rd or 4th time playing Buffalo.
Yeah.
Played Buffalo a lot.
Yeah.
Played Ryan Miller a lot.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough.
And he's an idol of mine. I skate with him right before he retired. I skate with him every summer here, and I absolutely love that guy. He's the nicest human being around. I played against him a lot, and so the next day we're playing at home against Boston, and there's nothing said to me after the game. Nothing the next morning before pregame skate. After pregame skate, when I'm eating my pregame meal, he goes, "Folks, you're in tonight. Don't fuck it up." That's his pregame speech to me.
Oh my God. Good old Ron Wilson. Where's he coaching now? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though
and then Mark Recchi scored a hat trick on me. So, and then I got pulled and never saw another game.
See, and I know your first game going to that was against Atlanta. You were called up, I think it was the first time you were called up, you didn't play, if that's true. I think you called up.
Yeah, I got called up to San Jose. I had to take a midnight flight, drive with the assistant GM from Rockford to Chicago, and then fly to San Francisco, take a taxi to San Jose, and it was a shit show the night before.
Yeah.
And pregame skate was, well, if Paul Maurice pulls me aside, so he's like, I want you to watch the power play and stuff like this, because if Vesta's not ready, you're gonna play, but if he's not, you're gonna back up. And I'd already got told before pregame skate by just the team manager saying, folks, here's your flights after. So I told Paul Maurice that. I'm like, Paul, I already got my flights back for after the game, or for after I fly out at like 2:00. And he just turns around, takes the other way off the elevator, and he was pissed. But yeah, so that was my first call up. And then I got called up the night before in Atlanta, and I got to play with a lot of my friends who were in the lineup, and Cujo was the backup for my first game. So I was, it was huge, and we ended up winning. Played Kovalchuk.
Yeah.
Kovalchuk hasn't scored on me in my career, and I've played against him 3 times. So, just saying.
Big
it's an accomplishment for me.
Was he on that team, I think, or was he in Ottawa by then? I can't recall.
I think he was in Ottawa. I've got one game against Heater in preseason, and he didn't score me. So, and a charity game, he didn't score either. So.
Not a big deal.
Great guy though. Great individual.
He has the best meme Twitter page ever.
Yes, he does, and I bet he just totally lives with it, rolls with it, because he is awesome. Nothing bothers that guy. I mean, the shit that he's went through. I mean, he's a hell of a human being and a very strong person.
See, Alex, I know this. I think you're going to go to this too. Is that Justin's statistics in the AHL and the way they came up in Toronto? I have said all the time, and I always said this in my discussions with my friends. I was always talking hockey. Pogge needs to be up. I loved, and I'm talking like a little elementary school crush here for a second, but I was a fan of you growing up, Justin, and I was so excited when Toronto had you when you were in the World Juniors. And I knew from the start, and there's obviously two different types of Leaf fans. Okay, the ones that are obnoxious and the ones that are realist. I consider myself an Alex realist because we know the background a bit now, which is certainly great. But even before, you can see it. Anyone that has two eyes and an asshole can see that individuals like yourself, Luke Shen is another guy I'll throw out that had development kind of errors, and not because you were playing incorrectly or because of whatever. It was because you didn't get the opportunity that you deserved, right? And that's where, we're not going to go into the whole past of it, but and Alex, I won't take too much more from you here. Like I have this whole show with a lot of different things, but in Toronto, it's a tough area to play. And maybe, if Ron Wilson wasn't the head of the helm, there's all that what if factors, right? But again, we can't go back to that, but it would have been so much different, and you would have had if you had a different chance, it would have been so much better for yourself. But Alex.
Yeah, like what was your welcome to the league moment when you get called up? Is it going down the tunnel? Is it when you take the ice for warm-ups, or what was the moment where you just said, holy shit, I'm here?
You know what? I think it's that first time you pull that sweater on, you look down and you got a Maple Leafs jersey on. I mean, it's the same with Hockey Canada. As soon as you put that Maple Leaf over your shoulder pads, and you're it. You did it. You're there. And once you're in the game's a game. It's just like every other game. Guys are a little better. When you realize that you've achieved your goals and you've got to somewhere where you've dreamt about your whole life, and it's a stunning moment in your life. It's an amazing feeling when you're there, and then it's everything else just being used to it. And I felt like I'm grateful for the chance that I got to play in the NHL, and got to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, got to play in the Air Canada Center. I don't know what the fuck it's called now, but I'm very grateful for my opportunity. Do I wish I would have got a better crack at it? Yeah, I wish I would have got to practice with the team and actually got a feel for the NHL, but I was called up and sent back down the next day. And that's just life. And then after that, it was the same everywhere else, called up.
You were saying earlier too that the media wasn't able to get a hold of you. Once they got a hold of you, I bet they didn't let go.
No, it's wild, but I didn't mind being asked questions, but I don't think I was the most interesting person to talk about. I didn't have any negative feedback. I was just happy to be there. So
happy you played with the Leafs before Twitter and before everybody had an opinion that they could broadcast.
Yeah, you know what? All we had was the newspapers, and I didn't look at anything but the Sunshine Girl in the newspaper. So I'd walk in, Brad Harrison, he was our equipment manager. I think he's in Edmonton now, and a great individual. And I go, how's the day looking? And he'd put it open. It's a good day today. All right, let's go. And that's about the extent. I would never read any articles. It wasn't worth your mental health to go and all that. And now it's, multiplied a million times over with Instagram and Twitter and all these internet feeds, and people sometimes don't know what they're talking about, or they do know what they're talking about, and sometimes they're wrong. But I'm glad that I missed that. I'm glad it was a little anonymous sometimes, because when I would go out in Toronto, I wouldn't say I was who I was, or I work construction or just do something like that. Unless I was trying to get in somewhere. But I didn't really go to many clubs. I went to my spots, which are closed now. So
were there any guys on the team that would religiously like go to the newspaper and want to see what people were saying about them, or was it kind of right across the board? Everybody was like, no, it's bad.
Now I think some people get in there and then, you could see them mentally thinking about their game and stuff like that. I wasn't one of those guys. I know when I played bad. I know when I played well. And, sometimes you play well and you lose. And sometimes you don't play well and you win. And you could be the hero or the villain every time. And personally, I know when I fuck up, and I know when I do well. So I'm honest with myself. And I think that's the most important thing for young hockey players is be honest with yourself and work hard. And, if you think that you're playing well and maybe you're making some mistakes, but if you're putting in the work, then, usually you're right.
Yeah, and like I was even saying, it's still it even upsets me. You have obviously, are very mature about it, which is great to see. And flat out, what I wanted to say before was the Leafs treated you like shit, and it's bullshit that they did. And I know you won't admit that, maybe as blunt as I have there, but what they did was dumb, and it upsets me still because of the talent. And you still are. You look at the resume that you've done, right? Everything worked out, but again, it's still very frustrating, especially if you're a fan of the team, to see what could have been. But now, obviously, even outside of Toronto, you were moved to the Ducks and to the Hurricanes, right? And you ultimately signed in 2011 with the Arizona Coyotes in free agency. After you were done with the Yotes, when you're in the AHL, you already touched on this. You moved over to Europe. Of course, you found out that, all right, this is where, I don't want to bounce around in the American Hockey League or the East Coast League or have this basically bullshit happen where you should have been up, but you weren't. And you go overseas and you had the experiences you've had, which was fantastic. So out of all that after Toronto, was there maybe an opportunity that you thought, okay, this is my second kick, or did you find that it was the same each place that you went to, basically?
Well, when I went over to Italy, I had a 5-year plan set up that by the 5th year, I either wanted to be in the KHL or back in North America. And, I had to start from the bottom. I didn't have that many NHL games, and it was a lockout. So I started in Italy. Then the next year, I knew I wanted to play in a league that I can kind of filter down after time. So Sweden's one of the best leagues over there, and not knocking Germany at all, but Sweden's, you could just tell by the amount of players they have in the NHL right now. They're putting out good product, and they're playing the right way. And as a goalie, they play the right way. So, it helps your stats. And so I went there, second league, and then moved up down the highway a little bit to Karlstad. And I had 2 solid years there. And I thought that, I was the second in save percentage and goals against average for 2 years in a row. And I thought, well, maybe I'll get my shot. There's spots open. And I think I had the Toronto bug over my head, or it was just tainted. So I never ever got a chance to come back, and I had the numbers, but I did get to go to Russia, so I did fulfill my goal. It wasn't the greatest experience, but it was a life experience. Talk about getting paid and stuff like that. It's true. Yeah. You don't get paid unless you're on the good clubs.
Yep.
But I ended up getting all my money 3 years later, so I'm happy about that. But I thought that there's a chance I could get back and at least get a tryout, but nothing, just crickets.
It's so mind-boggling to me. My friends and I still talk about that situation in Toronto where with yourself and Luke Shen, those are 2 players that we talk about all the time, that it's always you and Shen that we talk about. And I believe Ron Wilson was there with Luke Shen too, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
I think that is the recipe that filled that disaster. I know Paul Maurice was a part of it there, but you were in your development stages at that time.
I think he's in a little bit different of a boat because he was there, but he wasn't getting the chance to play the way that he should have been utilized. And he was a great kid. I remember I got along with him right away.
Yeah.
Western guy. And he just wasn't utilized. And then you go and see what he does everywhere else. He wasn't the D-man that was going to score 100 points. It's not him. He's stay-at-home D. He's going to he's block shots. He'd play the gritty game, but sometimes we look past that characteristic, and we all want guys that can score 100 points. But at the end of the day, you don't make it past the first round. So.
No, and they still don't. And the thing is, it's funny, but it's also extremely painful. And I'll say the worst general manager in Leafs history is John Ferguson Jr. Okay, and not because of trades. Not because of trades that happened, not because even players that he's drafted. There's actually been some that were good, of course, but just his role. And that's my flat out thing. I won't shit talk Leaf management too much because I feel like they might show up my door, especially since Dubas is from the Sioux and also know him on a level. So I will keep that on another level. But you, Alex, I don't know if you want to dive in a bit more with the National Hockey League before we dive into our conclusion portion.
No, I think we touched about every basis we could have. Dave, I hope you're feeling a little bit better. I hope you got something off your chest there. Definitely sounded like it came from the heart when you were saying it. So,
I wanted to make sure I said the right thing, so I kind of stuttered just a tad. And the right thing was I should have just been blunt, like I said that I was, where I should have just said that they treat him like shit. And I'm glad that he came on the show and I was able to tell him that to his face. So yeah, you know what? I'm pretending Justin isn't here, and I'm saying that yes, I'm happy I did get that off my chest. But now that knowing that Justin is still here in this conversation, is there anything before we get to our conclusion / bonus questions, which is another fun topic we get into before we wrap up? Is there anything you want to dive into with the NHL, AHL that we may have missed?
No, I mean, it's funny to every year, I go on Twitter every once in a while and put in my name, and it's still the same talk about the trade for Tuukka Rask, and I was everyone just could fuck right off. It was They traded for Andrew Raycroft. Why wouldn't you have two good goalies? There's two spots on a team.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's just what I want to end with on that. I'm very grateful for Toronto organization for having me and giving me a chance to live out my dream. I wish it was longer, yes. But that's all I want to end with, and it's hilarious. People still talk about it.
And you know what? Two quick things with that. It's very great with respect to Toronto. You're not shit talking them. I'm the one who's shit talking them a little bit, of course. And that trade, it had nothing to do with having Justin Pogge and putting all the onus on you. They thought they were getting a good goaltender in Raycroft. It didn't work out. It worked out the other way. People don't think and use their head sometimes. So it would have been great if it was a perfect world that Raycroft worked out the way he should and that Justin was developed the right way that he should have had the chance they should have had. Then they would have had the tandem that was the best of all time. But it didn't happen that way, and that ultimately it worked out for you in the end.
If they didn't trade all their first round picks for Brian Leach,
Brian Leach,
maybe I wouldn't have been the first overall pick. They could have picked someone.
Phil Kessel, whatever it may be, right?
Oh man,
we can talk for days. We could talk for days. But now, getting to our conclusion and the wrap up the show, of course, the tradition that we do, Justin, is we have a bonus question where it can go both ways. We ask you a question, and it's usually a one-word answer, but we've had guests that have dived into stories about it. One particular longest story is 27 minutes long, so I'm not expecting you to break that record yet. I've timed it. Yeah, 27 minutes long was one bonus question. I won't throw that guy under the bus because I know he listens routinely. Great guest, though, and I know I'm going to get a message for that afterwards. But nonetheless, the topics that myself and Alex bring up, it's just a random question, and you can answer it. So firstly, and I will go first because usually everyone thinks Brendan Brooks, who's the usual co-host with myself and Alex as well, that he has the better question. That breaks my heart that people say that. But I'm going to let Alex go last because I like going first. So with your time playing to date, giving you two options to go with here, what shooter do you fear the most, or did you fear the most?
Out of all the players I've played against on my team, or
anything
just in general?
In general.
Kind of like Taves earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Taves was pretty scary. But Matt Sundin could score at will on me.
Oh, okay. I love that name. I love hearing that name. Oh,
bless that man's soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what? I'm grateful because I got to play with or just be in training camp with some absolute legends,
Yeah.
Ed Balfour, I was in training camp with. I actually trained with him in the summer. Ed the Eagle, like unbelievable. Then I had Curtis Joseph, my first training camp was absolutely hilarious. Jason Allison, we had Matt Sundin, Darcy Tucker,
Oh God.
Brian Marchment, like Aki Berg was there, Nick Archipov, like just some absolute beauties. Hal Gill I played with. Who else was there? And it wasn't. Oh man,
I'm at the
trying to think. He's from St. Louis. I can't.
Jamal Mayers.
Well, I actually got a story about Jammer.
Oh, shoot! Go ahead if you want to.
So it's my first time parking at the ACC, and I at that time so I'd been called up. I bought a brand new at the time 2008 Nissan Xterra. Nothing compared to what the other guys are driving. So I park underground, the Air Canada Center, one of the farthest parking spots away from the door, because I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna park front row. No, I'm a rookie. You don't want to make that mistake. I go in there and I'm early, so I'm working out and stuff like that. And I think I'm getting a little like tape on my knee or something like that, or just doing something and just hanging out in the medical room. And Jammer comes in. Who the fuck drives a Nissan Xterra? I go. He's like, you think it's a good idea just to park in the biggest spot? I'm like, he has like a big SUV, probably an Escalade or something like that. And I'm like, oh my, what can I do right here? I'm sorry, Mr. Jamal. I'll go move it.
Max fine. And I think the guy from St. Louis maybe been Alex Steen.
Steiner was a great guy. No, older guy. He's from St. Louis. He's an American.
I'm
trying. Dave, I got this.
Not Lee Step.
Not Doug Waite.
Jason Blake. Nope.
No, I played him too. He's from Minnesota.
Yeah, he's
an individual too.
Yeah, he is.
Kip Stapleton?
No, he's from Chicago. Love that guy.
He's from Illinois.
We're just firing it off. Is it Chris Hansen? No, he's from New York.
He's like a legend. He's like, oh, man, why can't I think of his name? I think he was in. Never mind. I don't even know. But a bunch of Hall of Famers I got to play with, and I'm totally grateful for that. It's today's age would never happen where you're going up as a 20-year-old and the other goalies are 40 and 35. that won't happen anymore. As much as I would like to be that 40-year-old, it's not going to happen.
No, and you know what? You have guys like, for example, Carey Price, right? Pekka Rinne, who just at the time of this recording just essentially announced his retirement. It comes down to that those are different breeds. They don't make them like they used to. I still consider Price into that era where now if you look at today's hockey with the younger guys, I'm very interested to see how like McDavid can keep up with the speed that he has, and like goaltenders that can keep up, the big goaltenders that are known right now, if it's going to change, because all the training is so dynamic. But it's unbelievable. It's literally unbelievable. Par, I'll let you go to your bonus question. My question went elongated there. I like it. It expanded to something else there. I love that.
Try to help you out.
Fill up the
I'm
air
not very
time,
long-winded, but
no, you're good.
You said you played Ryan Miller a lot, but when it comes to goalies you played against, who was the one goalie that had the most difficult time getting a win against you and your team?
I'd like to say I beat Ben Bishop one time. So
I'll give you that.
I had that going for me. I loved what he did with his career, and I was pumped to beat him. Absolutely pumped. I think I beat Corey Crawford once in Rockford. But yeah, that's about it. I think I beat Telly a couple times in Sweden, so I'm happy about that.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know. It's tough to look at the other guy down the other end.
Right.
Yeah, no, it is. You know what? Being a goalie, everyone says they're different breed, but we've had some good goaltenders on the show, and that's yourself, Jason Pogge, Scott Darling, who was an absolute beauty.
Charles is a beauty.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Par asked him, he said, so why do you think, so something about Carolina, and he's about his stats.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, well, so Scott, why do you think it wasn't a good thing, Carolina or something? And Scott goes, why the fuck do you think? You know, like that's one of the iconic questions on the show. But they say goaltenders are beauties, but no goal. If anyone has the balls to stand in front of rubber and stop a puck, okay, you're an absolute beautician, but a legend, because you're the last line of defense and you got to build a team from the net out. That's what makes success. Just look at some teams, especially one team that made the Cup finals this past season, that was built from that perspective. So goaltenders are heartbeats of a team and they should be given more credit.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Now, Justin, this has been a great show. Glad they were able to have you on, and all your answers were great. Just so you know, we love all of that. I want to say thank you and to have you on the show. We'll touch base again in the future sometime. I'd like to keep track of you going on to the season. See if you have another save of the year come up or something. Maybe this will be the year that you can take a championship home.
Yeah, you know what? I got a few more left. I got some. I still got some tread on these tires, so I'm 35 and staying alive.
Love that. Love that. Par.
Yeah, no, thanks for being a good therapy session for Dave. I feel like he's going to have a way better week going out. So just
a little weight off the shoulders, huh?
Yeah, he's able to finally let it out. And I could tell it was eating at him. So thanks for being that for him.
Oh, thanks, Par.
No worries. I'm glad that it all worked out and we could make this happen. You know, the token one podcast a year is good for me. It keeps me relevant.
As you said, you're still on Twitter. You're still trending. You're still trending.
Yeah. I'm not very good at social media, but yeah, I try. I'm more of a scroller than the active. You know, be a part of it.
And it's good. This has been certainly fun, and hopefully all the listeners enjoyed it. And again, thank you to Justin. It's been great. And, you know, hopefully going forward, that people that are developing prospects, give them a chance when they deserve it. That's the message of this interview. We'll keep it at, okay? But everything's great. Looking forward for you. Still got a lot of years left. Excited to keep track of that for yourself. And again, thank you, Alex. Thank you. All the listeners, make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms of the Game Sports Show and the Game Entertainment and Media. And trust me, we are everywhere. Okay. I'm not going to go through that list because we don't have that much time. There's so many platforms we're on. Just search us, social media, on anywhere you get your podcasts. Just get on there. And if you want some great content, not being biased here, even Justin will attest to this. We got some great content, great interviews, great news shows, all fantastic stuff that you do not want to miss out on. Now, getting to the conclusion, I would like to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.